here with Senator Mike Jacobs, the day after Governor Quinn's State of the State address. Seemed like his theme was moving forward and that Illinois is back on course. I just saw a poll by the Illinois Policy Institute that indicated that citizens of Illinois don't agree. I think about 74% say the state's on the wrong track. What's your impression of some of the ideas that the governor presented yesterday?
I actually think the governor gave one of the better speeches that I've ever heard him give. He used a teleprompter. In the past, he's sort of spoken more off the cuff. It was a much more controlled speech. And he had some good things in there. He had great ideas about helping returning heroes. He had great ideas about putting more money in education. He had great ideas about providing more protection for children in the area of health care. And he had a lot of good ideas. But what I didn't hear is how he's going to pay for them. And that seems to be the difficulty. Now this is a State of the State speech, Tom. And so from here, what he'll do is lay out a budget and tell us how he's actually going to pay for these programs. And I think a broad theme that the governor was trying to say was that Illinois has done a pretty decent job, even though people may not believe it. We've done a pretty decent job of trying to get our budget under control. This budget just didn't go out of control overnight. It took, 100 and some years to get here. And so the budget's a little out of control. We've been working on that. We've made some tough cuts. People don't want to acknowledge those cuts, but we've made some tough cuts. We've made some changes to the pension system, which I'm not crazy about, but we had to make them. But what the governor is really saying, I think, is that he's doubling down. We just had a huge capital bill in Illinois, a $31 billion capital bill that's paid for roads and construction and all the things that people have been seeing. People holding those signs out on the streets, those are construction workers from the state of Illinois, and they're being paid with your tax dollars to move things along. And we're also hiring a lot of private vendors. A lot of labor unions are working because of the work the state's done. And now some people thought the governor should just sort of stop now. But the governor says he's going to double down, that he's going to invest more money in the future because he's kind of bullish on where Illinois is moving to. And I share his sense of optimism. I'm an optimistic person, but I am a little concerned about how to pay for it. So that's going to be the big sticking point in the upcoming session, is how do you give everybody everything they want and still give people some kind of financial security.
Well, I know that in the past you're not always agreed with Governor Quinn on some of the spending policies and the budget and such. Now that Illinois has got the worst credit rating of all 50 states, there was a lot of discussion about the corporate welfare that was given to Sears and the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Receiving those kinds of tax reductions and incentives, plus the recent increase in a year ago, the state income tax and the corporate tax, all that was expected to raise an additional $6.8 billion. Has that panned out in your opinion?
Well, we have raised the money. Unfortunately, we owed the money. So, it's a little bit like being behind. We owed $12 billion last year at this time. Now we owe about $6.8 billion. So we're cutting down our debt, and that's what we have to do. But people today want immediate action. They don't want to have a debt, and they want to think that the state has all the resources they need to fund the programs that people are demanding. But the fact is we just don't. And the income tax was a decision that we made. I don't think anybody was for increasing that tax. I mean, who's for increasing a tax? It's much better to tell voters that you don't need your taxes raised and to keep piling up debt. But you can't keep running the railroad the same way that they've been running it. I tried to caution Governor Quinn about raising the income tax. I tried to caution him about raising the corporate income tax. Because what I see, Tom, is I see corporations passing that income tax right to taxpayers. So, maybe we should just get rid of that corporate tax. We are moving back next year about this time. We should have that budget caught up. We should be back to about zero. And if everything goes well, and we don't see an unforeseen glitch in the economy, we will drop that that personal income tax from 5 to back to 3.5. When we started, it was 3. Some people are saying we shouldn't reduce that tax, but it's mandatory by law that we do. So then we'll have to make decisions. I don't know if a temporary income tax was enough to take care of the problems we have in the long term. And I'm not saying that because it makes me popular. I'm saying that because it's the truth. As someone who really knows this budget and has really looked at Illinois' budget, we have a structural deficit. We have a $5 to $4 billion a year payment in our pension system. And we're going to continue to have that pension payment for a lot of years. It's not something that's going to go away. And also, money that isn't being eaten up by the pension is being eaten up by Medicaid and Medicare. And so, everybody's using resources. People don't realize how many resources they're using. One of the things I think your readers might be interested in is that, if you go to the college in the state of Illinois, the state pays half your tuition. I tell people that and they don't believe me, but it's true. So if you go to Illinois school, if your child's in an Illinois school in the college level, the state of Illinois pays half their college education. Some people suggest to me that we should quit doing that. Some people suggest to me that we should quit not charging tax on the retirement of seniors. I don't really think that's what we have to do. I think we need to keep tightening our belt. We're continuing to cut billions and billions of dollars out of the budget. Illinois is now a mean, strong machine, and now we just need to get past that reputation that we earned under Governor Ryan going to jail and Governor Blagojevich going to jail. I don't think Governor Quinn will ever end up in jail, but that doesn't necessarily make you a good governor just because you don't end up in jail.
Unfortunately, the Illinois' reputation was marred quite a bit, and
Yes, sir.
I think just the general state of the economy hasn't helped that at all. To look back on that and
It's
point
true.
fingers, but do you see any change in the business environment in the state?
Well, the one thing I would point out is that unlike some of our neighbors, particularly Wisconsin, which is darn near civil war between taxpayers and the politicians and public and private employees and the right wing and the left wing, they're near anarchy in that state. I think the one thing that we do still have going for us is that we do tend to cooperate. At the end of the day, Republicans and Democrats, we come together and we try to decide what's best for Illinois and move us forward. Part of my concern has been recently, though, is my friends on the Republican side of the aisle just find it easier to object. They don't bring any ideas, they don't bring any plans, but they're really good at objecting. But for years, this was a bipartisan system, Republicans and Democrats. There's been Republican leaders and Democrat leaders. So this isn't a Democrat mess. This is a mess that's been created by people not taking responsibility. And as a somewhat younger politician, I think it's important that we don't do to my children what the generation ahead of me has done to my generation, which is leave us with all the bills.
That's a tough call. To change the subject here, it's been discussed throughout not just Illinois, but the United States, but considering that Illinois is one of the states that mandates the fluoridation of the public water supply, there has been talk about presenting a bill that would reverse that in Illinois. And I just wondered, as a senator, if the House presented a bill like that, would you support it?
I think so. I want to see more facts, and I want the dentists who are professionals to weigh in, and the scientists. But look, part of the problem that we have is that people want really high standards, but it costs money to have really high standards, and you have to make decisions. Now, in one of my local communities in Silvis has a very high content of fluoride in their water, and some people love it. Me, I don't like to drink it. So I think, with the advent of bottled water, too, people have choices. But if somebody would have told me that you could sell a bottle of 8 ounce of water for $1 when I was a kid, I'd have been a rich guy by now. If I didn't know what to do with it. So I think there's room for that issue and for people to move on that. But I think we'll have to have more information in front of us before we have a bill. And I'm sure there's going to be some interest that would not like to see those kind of things change. And just as much as there'll be people that want it to change. So you could be talking about an issue that certainly could become a pivotal issue as we move. And the governor, one thing I did like in his speech, a couple things I liked in his speech, but one of the things I really liked was his talk about fixing water systems in Illinois. And that's like the last thing anybody wants to fix because it's not sexy. Nobody wants to fix the sewers because you can't see them. Nobody wants to fix the wastewater pipes because you can't see them. And really nobody wants to fix the water because all you're doing is drinking it. So it seems to me that there's room for this issue.
Well, there's personally, since I've been researching it mainly as an alderman, there seems to be both medical and constitutional concerns, which the medical concerns have always been out there. The fact that it's considered it's a poison, as well as if it's applied topically, it obviously has benefits regarding tooth decay, but it's also the main ingredient in Prozac. So what does that tell you about the?
Well, I think what it tells you is that you have to be careful about what you're drinking, and you need to know. And for those communities with the high fluoride content, I think you do have to be concerned, and you need to take a look at the local level and see what can be changed. But hopefully, at some point, we'll figure out a way to wholesale get this whole issue under control. And as we move towards these new wastewater systems and the new water lines in Illinois, which the governor sounds like he really wants to do, and that's good because he's going to put a lot of people to work. But maybe we ought to have one unified water in Illinois. There are probably some folks in Chicago that would love to have our water, no matter how much fluoride it had in it, because some of the water up there you can hardly drink.
Yeah, it's more like drinking chlorine.
That's right. That's right.
But there's no easy answer. The last question I have is basically regarding the smart grid legislation. Can't get away from that one.
No.
Back in November, Representative Jim Seisha had defended his vote to override Governor Quinn's veto of the Senate Bill 1652. And he wrote in his Capitol report that he submitted to our newspaper that he believed what the lobbyists told him about it. And we rebutted his reasoning and felt that at the time Jim Seisha had said that Black and Veatch, who were the consultants, didn't have a, quote, horse in the race. And we felt that with a lot of the information that was available about the smart grid technology, the effects of the microwave technology on the health of citizens should have been taken into account, and but it wasn't. And we just wondered, under the circumstances, you being the chairman of the Energy Commission, and of course there was a lot of play about your dad being a lobbyist for ComEd.
Sure.
What who wrote the bill? I mean, I've had people, and I'll be honest with you, that wondered why you put yourself in that position as being the chairman of the Energy, and with your dad being a lobbyist. Just, would you like to address that?
Sure. The bottom line is the reason the bill passed, and passed with a supermajority, not just a majority. That means that a 3/5 majority of both the House and the Senate approved it, against the objections of Governor Quinn. Why did they do that? Well, the reason they did it is because it was the right thing for Illinois. And I think in the long run, when people get a view of the smart grid over the next couple of years, that the Dotting Thomases will come to agree. And the reason I say that is that the energy grid will produce so many new things for us in our communities. You know, you just can't run the future on energy of the past. And you have to upgrade your energy. And for Ameren customers, that means an additional $3 a year. For ComEd customers, that means an average of between $2.50 and $2.60 a month. Well, what do you get for your $2.60? Well, first off, currently under this system, if your electricity goes off, nobody knows it's off except you. You have to call the company and tell them, hey, my power's out. Under the new smart grid, there's a huge computer. It can sense where every line they own is. And if a squirrel walks across the line and gets electrocuted and knocks out the whole power grid, they can fix it. They can fix it right there on the spot. It'll go down for a few moments, if at all. And then in the old days too, if let's say you lived near the junction box and the power had been turned on, there might be people down the street that didn't have power. And so the utility had no way of knowing that. So now the utility will know who and what and where the power is. Also, a lot of people stole power, and not most people I know, but there are some people out there who are stealing power. This will refrain that from happening. It'll create 2,900 high-tech, high-paying jobs, and I think, and most importantly, it'll help foster the green economy. And as one of the strongest supporters, chairman of energy, of the green economy, we forced ComEd to go from 3% renewable energy to 5%. And that's a huge jump. It makes Illinois, as Governor Quinn said yesterday, a leader in green technology. So I really think what swayed me, though, in the end of the day, was the driving the electric car. I drove the Volt, and I'm very looking forward to coming year when I'll be able to drive the Volt or any other electric car and stop at a gas station and plug it in. And everything that you do in government has a cost. Everything that you do regarding moving the ball forward, there's a cost to it. As a politician, I could have easily said, well, look, nobody should pay anything and we should make them pay for it. But the fact is, they're a huge company. They make money. They don't need to upgrade their equipment. The upgraded equipment's for us. And I think that's what people have to remember. And then I would like just directly to address the questions that have been put towards me, why I carried the bill. Well, I carried the bill because I was asked to carry the bill. I was asked to carry the bill by Senate President John Cullerton. The reason I was asked to carry the bill is because I'm the chairman of energy. And there's probably nobody in the state currently that's in the legislature that knows more about moving and selling and distributing power than I do. And this bill was written by the Illinois House, members of different committees, including people who were against it. Lisa Madigan inserted portion after portion after portion. But at some point in government, the rubber meets the road. And in this case, the rubber met the road when I had the votes to move the bill. And I wish the governor would have worked with me rather than against me. Because I did notice in his State of the State speech that he talked an awful lot about the smart grid for a guy who opposed it. And I think that I'll be proven correct in the long run, and it may cost me in the short run. But I didn't come to government to make easy decisions. I didn't come to government just to be re-elected year after year. I came to government to make a difference, to make change. And I really do believe that when everybody takes a really hard look 5 years from now, 4 years from now, at the cost versus the benefit of having a smart grid and moving our economy forward, that people are going to say, Illinois is a leader, finally, in something. And that's going to be smart energy. And I look forward to the new jobs. One of the things that people need to realize is that I put in cost penalties. If ComEd doesn't perform or Ameren doesn't perform, we're going to fine them. And they're not small fines, they're huge fines. I'll be on them like a hawk. I'm going to watch every step they take. But at the same time, people do have to realize that if you want something, you got to pay for it. I think last week I got my cable bill, and my cable bill went up $15. I have a nice cable package. I'm the first to admit that. I'm a glutton for my TV. When I get to watch it, I like to watch it. But nobody said a word. We don't regulate cable. And I really believe that some politicians in Illinois have profited by attacking and banging the utility companies. I believe they've turned that into a career. I point out that Governor Quinn is started the utility, the Cub lobby. Representative Bolin, my opponent in the primary, also started the utility lobby. Lisa Madigan has done pretty well with the members of the utility lobby. So I think everybody's got a dog in the fight. And frankly, I was most offended by the use of government resources to fight against a huge Illinois company who's been pretty darn good provider of power, and also been a pretty good darn employer. And the one thing I think we better do in Illinois is start treating our businesses with more respect, because at the end of the day, business makes Illinois work. You have to have great workers, which we do. You have to have bright people, which we do, educated. You have to have technological people. We've got the University of Illinois. We've got 3 of the best airports in the world. Why shouldn't we have the best electrical system? And I really believe that, with Illinois' 5 nuclear power plants, and I'd point out that, one of them happens to be in our district, Exelon, that, and the peaker plant there too, that those are good paying jobs. And someday they'll be talking about building another nuclear reactor. And, hopefully they'll take a good look at Illinois. We're a leader in the energy movement. And as long as I'm chairman of energy, I'll continue to lead. And a final note, I would just say that I find it interesting that sometimes people can't disassociate between myself and my father. My dad lives farther over there. I live over here. I wake up, I put on my shoes, he puts on his shoes. I don't act in his benefit. I act in the benefit of the people of my district. And one of the things that a lot of people don't know is there's not going to be many people in my district that pay any fee for the smart grid, because a lot of my area is covered by Joe Davies Carroll and also by Mid-America. And so those people don't pay it, but they get every benefit. Now some people will say, well, you shouldn't have done that. Why should you throw the screws to Chicago? Well, because I can.
Well, it's never an easy answer, is there?
No, there's never, I think it's just, one of the things I think is that the nature of politics has become so coarse that people just won't just refuse to believe that you can actually believe something. Well, I don't think it's any secret to anybody in my district that I'm pro-growth. I don't think it's any secret to anybody that I think business has to thrive in order there to be labor. People who don't know me and want to subscribe motives to me that are based on the fact that this may or may not help my father by our association. Look, ComEd had some 30 lobbyists working this bill. Ameren had probably 20. And Lisa Madigan had probably 30 working the other side, as did Governor Pat Quinn. And they used state resources, which I found highly offensive, to lobby against a bill. And I just think that's something that we really need to look at is and that's why I think there was some violation of the Senate rules on the floor, which I think concerns some people, is that you shouldn't describe motives on people, especially on the Senate floor. If you want to do that in an atmosphere where it's political, you're fine. But in the Senate, we tend to like to think that we treat each other with respect. And I could have pointed out just as easily that Senator Kyle McCarter owns a company that sells products to utility companies. I didn't do that. But if I sold products to utility companies, now that would be a conflict. But if Kyle McCarter does it, it's okay. And that's just the nature of politics sometimes. And I get that. But I wouldn't change a thing. And I am thankful that the supermajority of legislators in both the House and the Senate agreed. And it's kind of heady stuff, too, for a young downstate kid to override the governor of Illinois. The governor of Illinois told me there's no way in heck I was going to get it done, and I did it. And I think that speaks to my ability to get results for my district. And I look forward to getting an opportunity, if I'm granted that opportunity, to building more and doing more, especially the rural communities, which I have a great affinity for, and continue working hard. And try to enjoy myself once in a while, too.
There you go. Well, good luck in
Thank you, sir.
In the future, and you've got a primary coming up. So.
Well, I always call a primary is like a family fight. It's like fighting with your sister or brother. No good can come of it. But I do look forward to hopefully getting through the primary and then facing a good Republican challenger. And I look forward to, I've let him beat me up for about a full year, and I've about had that. So I'll probably point out a few problems with my opponent, as he likes to point out about me.
The nature of the game.
The nature of the business.
Well, thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Tom. This is very kind of you. Thank you.